This is the Tower of Monsters, a calamity that suddenly appeared in the world many years ago. Creatures poured out of it like bees from a hive. Helpless before such an overwhelming threat, humanity was pushed to the brink of extinction. With little hope left, a group of people known as the progenitors emerged. They became the first generation of transcendence. They repelled the monster invasion and successfully destroyed the tower. Then humanity halted the monsters, securing victory. The heroes were revered as saviors of the world and upon death were buried in the sanctuary of the progenitors. Several centuries have passed since that event. Minato Kanagi, as a child, loved reading the tales about them in the sanctuary's library, like the one about the Blade Master who defeated 10,000 creatures with a single strike, or the mage who unlocked the secrets of magic and could cast any spell without uttering a word. The heroes in these legends were larger than life, and Minato dreamed of making his own mark in history. Until one day he received a sign, one of the marks that appears on all those chosen to become transcendents. He made a vow that one day he too would become a transcendent worthy of being remembered like the progenitors. At least that's what the boy thought. It is announced that the results have come out. Everyone celebrates passing the exam. However, not everyone actually succeeded, as Minato receives the message that he doesn't meet the requirements for approval. While the others cheer and joy, the boy is the only one sad in the room. Some of his classmates even ask if he can clean up the classroom so they can head out to celebrate. To become a transcendent, you only need to sign your name. That's how everyone jokes about the hunter exam, but he failed it 3 years in a row. You can only take the exam 3 times, so this was his final chance. Now he will never become a hunter. Even though he passed the written exam with flying colors and increases aura, he wonders what used the mark, as if he can't graduate. To the boy, the symbol now feels no more useful than some foolish blood test. Crying, Minato feels it's also unfair. What he wanted most was to be like a progenitor's. From the window, someone yells at him to hurry up because everyone is waiting at the school gate. He's not very excited, especially because he believes it should be him that everyone is admiring. The girls can't help but stare. So handsome is the new prodigy, and even the boys are impressed. Everyone is talking about the rank hunter, Kazahaki. Smiling, the young man apologizes for causing such a commotion. Minato's classmates are annoyed with him for taking so long and making the star of the moment wait. Kazahaki says it's not very cool to treat the weak badly, which the boys grumble about. With an intimidating look, the hunter points out that in case they hadn't noticed, there's a team of reporters behind him. One of the guys is amazed by the academy KZ graduated from and says he hopes the young man doesn't mind being followed around for the day. The man then asks what he thinks about using the photo of him slaying a drive-in for the magazine cover, to which the hunter replies that it sounds like a good idea, though he doesn't think it looks that great. Right behind, Minato watches him. After all, the two entered together, but the other boy quickly became known as a genius, earning top scores in every subject. But that's not all. Taizi is also the jerk who used to bully him. All throughout the time they were in the same class. Trembling, Minato wonders why he even has to be there while they're filming, as it's far too humiliating. One of the reporters asks who is next to him, and Hunter replies that he's an old friend, even though he doesn't know Minato's name, while another whispers something about him. Proudly, the school star claims the boy was always getting into trouble and came to him for advice, saying he used to take time out to help him. He even says he helped him financially, which Minato does not appreciate at all. After all, Keys always stole his money and never gave him a single cent. This has definitely been the worst year of his life. Meanwhile, the reporters praise the hunter, saying he's perfect, both inside and out. With a smile, the liar says he won't disappoint anyone and that one day his name will go down in history as one of great transcendence. Then the man says Mato is lucky you have Kaizai looking after him, and another adds that the boy should be grateful for everything. All that pressure makes the boy extremely nervous. Before he can say anything, the liar reminds him that he failed the exam. With an intimidating smile, he says it must be a terrible day for him and asks if it wouldn't be even worse to end it with an even lower score. But all that comes to the boy's mind is the humiliation he went through during that year. Minato was shaking heavily under the bully's intimidation. With camera flashes in his face, he says that Keys has been by his side and always thinks about those times and says he feels nothing but gratitude for the rest of his life. As soon as he finishes, the hunter lets him go and says that's enough since they don't have much time. Keys invites them to see his trophies, which delights the whole crew. They don't even remember Minato's name and say it's not necessary to know it for the story after all. No one cares. To a loser, it doesn't matter how rotten someone is inside. As long as they become a hunter, everyone looks at them. People remember their names. Crying, the boy wonders what his name will ever mean one day. Suddenly, someone calls out to him, making him jump. The bully tells him to go to the shrine after school, which makes Minato panic, wondering what they want with him. With a fake smile, Casey asks if he doesn't want to retake the test. He explains that he spoke well of the boy to the Hunter Association. Surprised, Minato asks why, and the other responds that it's just to look like the nice guy. After all, the reporters are going to do one last shoot at the location, and he says they'll talk more about it later. Always intimidating, Casey says he'd better be there. Still, Minato doesn't know if he should really trust him. Even though he doesn't like the idea of being used to boost the hunter's image, this might be his chance to turn his life around. Thinking carefully about it, the boy starts to feel calmer, and he decides that this time he's going to pass. The superstar of the next generation of progenitors is making a vow to protect humanity from monsters. His image is flawless. At the end of filming, the reporters thank Kaisi for letting them shoot all day despite his busy schedule. The hunter waits until everyone has left. Then he enters the shrine for what awaits him. He asks his lackeys if they found the entrance. Smiling, the boys reveal they did what he asked, and the superstar tells them to go in and grab the stuff. Suddenly, a voice comes from behind asking what he thinks he's doing. Not even trying to hide it, he openly admits to his treasure hunt. Minato objects, saying it's robbery, and asks if he knows who's buried there. But the rank hunter asks Suigan cares about that. With great force, he stomps the ground, sending rocks flying. The superstar says they're just a bunch of old, moldy mummies. He claims they can make a fortune selling the items instead of letting them rot, and says he can't believe Minato actually believes in the progenitor nonsense. But those heroes were perfect, and once he wished to be like them. The boy remembers when he promised Kiwi just like them. Thinking about it suddenly fills him with rage. He then charges forward to punch the bastard. But being perfect at everything, KZ dodges easily and finds an opening to punch Minato right in the stomach, making him vomit his own vital fluids. The superstar asks if the boy forgot who he's talking to. Shaken, Minato thinks the blow he took could have killed him. His lackeys call out, saying they found the items. The backpack is quite full of treasures. Even while injured on the ground, Minato is very worried about it. Sensing an aura, the superstar asks if it's coming from the items and already imagines living like royalty for the rest of their lives. He grabs the boy by the shirt and says he just needed someone dumb enough to fall for the lie about a new test. Having heard the rumors about the boy, he first laughed, then realized he had found exactly what he was looking for. Kizu already has the story. The failed loser, disappointed by not achieving his dream, decided to steal a treasure of his own heroes and vanished. The hunter even says it'll probably make front-page news, and the article will talk about the third-year student accused of stealing the treasures of the progenitor's sanctuary. And according to the police, they already have a suspect. As he lets go of the boy, he asks once more what his name is. Minato is deeply scared and aware that these are likely the last moments of his life, but the superstar says his name doesn't matter anyway. Then the boy falls off the cliff. Plunging into the water, he wonders if this is really how his life will end, and that probably no one will even remember him. Suddenly, orbs of light appear around him. They then transform into strange beings. The strangers debate whether the boy could be the vessel they have been waiting for to fulfill their hopes. They finally introduce themselves, saying they are the spirits who rest in the progenitor's sanctuary. The boy's eyes widen at this revelation. He wonders what is going on, what all these lights and voices are, and if these really are the heroes. One of the spirits says that the mark he bears is the mark of the void, and though it holds no power of its own, it can contain any power within it. Then he asks Minato to choose a progenitor with whom to form a bond, explaining that each figure he sees is a supreme master of their domain. Like mages, martial artists, sword masters, spear fighters, and summoners, and whoever he chooses will grant him a power far beyond anything he could imagine. Once again, the spirit asks what power he desires, and Minato knows exactly what he wants. Tired of bullies like Kazi, he no longer wants to live in a world where anyone can push him around. The boy wishes for the greatest strength possible to erase all the humiliation he suffered throughout his life. The mage urges him to hurry and choose someone, and the loser boy decides he wants the power of all of them. The progenitors find his ambition extraordinary, though they fear it may not be possible, as even a strong vessel might not be able to contain them all. But taking initiative for the first time at what he believes is the end of his life, Minato demands they be quiet. He doesn't want to hear excuses and commands that he wants all of them within him. Suddenly, all the spirits are drawn into the mark on his hand. The progenitors are stunned by what's happening, some even calling the boy insolent, splitting their opinions. The magic circle beneath the boy's feet begins to shine. KZ is the first to notice that something's wrong. All the water begins rising where it's glowing. One of the henchmen opens an umbrella, preventing the surprised superstar from getting wet. Everyone looks on in awe at Minato levitating, glowing with an aura. The boy lands in front of them, and he no longer has the gaze of the loser who used to be bullied. Surprised, the spiky-haired one says Minato is harder to kill than a cockroach. The boy is checking something in his hand, then the bullies notice it. They burst into laughter once they realize what it is, asking if he really thinks he's going to hurt them with that stick. KZ tells them to stop as he's seen enough. Then he orders that the boy's head be taken, making sure he never comes back again. Obeying the order, the spiky-haired one conjures a sword. Shoving off, he asks Minato if he remembers he always scores top marks in sword exams, saying the boy should feel honored. Unshaken, the ex-loser asks if he really believes that sword is from a true master of the blade. But without listening, the bully charges at him. Minato simply defends himself with his stick, and, astonishingly, the swordsman is the one who ends up being sliced along with his sword. Minato asks how one can tell it's the blade of a true swordsman, but the bully can't even utter a word, and the others stare, terrified at what just happened. Once more, the boy asks the same question. After all, he wants to know what made him think his sword is so special. But the big guy doesn't give him a chance, using his green magic, known as the Gaze of Destruction and the legend of the second classroom of 7th grade. Bathed in a yellow aura, Minato points his finger and says he's way too slow and casts the spell Herad. This shocks the bully. He wasn't supposed to be able to recite that. A brilliant explosion erupts. The big guy falls to the ground, scorched like a pig. Kezi is left stunned that his opponent could stab a regular person with a twig and cast spells without even saying a word. It's almost like the legendary Blade Master who defeated 10,000 monsters with a single command, or the mage who unlocked the secrets of magic, casting spells without speaking. The transcendents were larger than life, like characters from a fairy tale. Now those spirits reside within the body of Minato Kanagi. In total, there are 106 of them. Minato remembers when the superstar said his name would go down in history as one of the great transcendents. But now he says that name will not be remembered, because he has decided not to include it, and in the immortal legends people will speak only of them. A blue aura illuminates the boy, giving him an even more powerful presence. It's all incredible to Minato, who can feel the spirits of the progenitors within him alongside the mark of the void. He feels them brimming with emotion. The voices of the heroes echo in his mind. One amazed at how many rooms there are, another claiming he hasn't felt this free in centuries. Minato read the tales of the progenitors so many times that he memorized them all, but it's hard to believe these heroes are now inside him. He closes his eyes, feeling them, seeing them all together smiling. But their expressions shift. They must decide who will take control of the boy's body. Then the swordsman calls to him, Raikuro Hinoki, who defeated 10,000 monsters with a single strike. The long-haired man smiles, saying it's a pleasure to know his reputation lives on even after so many years. After all, a legend never dies. He asks what the boy intends to do. Minato wonders if it's about the last bully, but the hero says no. Pointing toward the real issue, the swordsman asks what he's going to do about that. Then the chosen one seems to awaken, finally understanding the situation. As he walks, still nervous, Kiza can't resist calling him a loser. The superstar draws his sword and asks how he dares to challenge a rank hunter, saying he'll teach him a lesson, but he doesn't get the chance to finish. He gets punched straight in the face. The blow is so powerful it sends the bully flying. Without much emotion, Minato just wants him out of his way. A dark aura spills out from the backpack. The light grows even more intense. While Minato is still in awe, Raikuro smiles with pride. The city is in total chaos. A large 3-headed black dog runs wild. The monster smashes through everything in its path. With a loud growl, it stops in front of a man. The heads snarl and huff menacingly. But the man leaps away, dodging the creature, and strikes it with crushing fall impact. Onlookers are stunned as Kurosag, an S-rank hunter, defeats an A-rank monster with a single blow. The man gives thanks and asks where KZ it is. But then he remembers the superstar had mentioned in interview, which is good for the guild's reputation. As he hands over the report, he notices something strange and wonders if it's some kind of monster. Where is this emergency coming from? Realizing something's wrong, he turns around in alarm. The boys are collapsing to the ground, and one of his companions asks what's going on. The pressure is so intense that even A and B class members can't remain standing. It makes him think this might be an S-rank monster requiring a massive scale attack. It's getting stronger and affecting everyone in its path. It's coming from the sanctuary of the progenitors. Meanwhile, Kisi is lying on the ground. Something in front of him terrifies him. A sinister black creature with many eyes and tentacles is emerging from the backpack. Terrified, the superstar asks where the creature came from, and Minato explains that it's his fault for defiling the sanctuary of the progenitors. One of the tower's boss monsters have been sealed, was inside the items, things he stole with his lackeys. Raikuro explains that some monsters manage to cheat death using a hibernation ability. The dark thing before them is known as the Plague of Futility. It opens its dozens of eyes. Its rank is estimated to be S or even higher. The creature emits a toxic aura that wipes out people within a radius of several kilometers. Back in the day, it was as common as flies. KZ says he's getting out of there, but the swordsman, Minato, warns him that making a move will make the monster target him. Nothing escapes those eyes. The creature launches its tentacle, making the superstar scream in terror. His sword is shattered. It doesn't seem possible after all. He once defeated a dragon with that blade. The boy is infected by the monster's tentacle and has his life force drained. Indifferent, Minato says he tried to warn him. Then Raikuro calls out and asks what the boy thinks about giving him full control of his body. The swordsman says he's seen him in action and knows what the Hinakuso sword can do, trying to tempt him while the others are busy settling in. Minato says he doesn't mind lending his body, and the long-haired man is relieved at how easy it is. However, the others won't let him get away with keeping the fresh young vessel all to himself. But the real surprise comes when the boy says he'll lend his body to all of them. He even says he's going to surpass them all no matter what it takes. To make that happen, he understands that he has to experience their full power for himself and ask them to show him everything they got. Renshiro is tired of this little brat stepping in and taking advantage of the situation. The swordsman says they may have bitten off more than they can chew. He projects his performance through Minato as if he were a puppet master, and the boy is marionette, and they're ready to dominate the battle. With swift spear movements, the monster is sliced, losing one of its tentacles. Unluckily for the boy, his stick was also damaged in the process, but there's no need to worry as another master steps in. Using martial arts, Minato strikes the monster. Another tentacle is torn from the horrific many-eyed creature. Wasting no time, the boy grabs the branch from the ground, and another hero takes control of his body, followed by yet another spirit, not leaving a single progenitor out. With so many hits in a row, the creature is completely messed up. While the creature is out of sync, Minato grabs the backpack. But it's the archer's turn, and the battle isn't over yet. The arrow hits the monster, sending multiple beams of light piercing his body. This green fluid even splashes onto the boy. Minato wipes his face and goes back on the attack, using a sequence of strikes from each master. With Raichiro, he grabs Kaizi's broken sword. The monster surprises him with its tentacles. But before they reach Minato, they freeze in mid-air. This time, it's the mage controlling his body, making the boy leap without even meaning to speak. The newest transcendent wields the sword, together with Raikuru, using the Hinoki style, summoning the sea storm for the attack. The lightning that bursts from the sword is so powerful. It even manages to slice the monster in two. The result leaves Minato with a wide smile. Night falls, the full moon letting up the darkness. A crow is the lone witness at the scene. On the phone, a man receives news that the monster was defeated before he even had the chance to get there. He's surprised as he didn't know powerful hunters were in the area. The crow managed to capture footage of the place. Upon discovering what happened, he asks if it really was a student from the hunter training school. That makes him smile, wanting to meet the boy in person. This is Midori Ichihara, the strongest transcendent in the world. Once again, he's on the phone speaking to Mr. Director, whom he hasn't contacted in a long time. Midori confirms the monster was classified as S rank and says the person who defeated it was the student Minato Kanji, which is strange considering the boy has failed the exam around 3 times. Having trouble believing it, he asks if the man can do him a favor. At school, students talk about the monster attack that happened the day before. One boy even mentions the aura that left him completely paralyzed, boasting. Another asks how people would react if they knew he was the one who defeated the monster, but no one takes him seriously. The rumor going around is that the real hero is a student from that school. It almost sounds impossible, a student from there eliminating an S-rank creature. Meanwhile, Minato leans on a branch shaking badly. He notices people are still talking about what happened the day before. Just then, a man shoves him, telling him to get out of the way. The tough guy thinks there's no way a weakling like the one he bumped into could have fought that monster. Minato felt incredible when he fought the creature the day before. But the result of borrowing the powers of the progenitors left his body aching the next day, laughing. A voice says he got tired way too easily. It's the sword master Raikiro. Skipping formalities, the man tells the boy to get up and asks if he wasn't the one who said he'd surpassed the progenitors. That seems to spark Minato's curiosity. He remembers what was said during the fight, and that quickly gives him a bit of motivation. To help, the swordsman asks him to show some perseverance, but those watching wonder what's wrong. Meanwhile, Raikuro thinks something about him has changed. Modern transcendence seems so weak, no better than an average person on the street, and he thinks that if the tower were to appear now, the whole world would vanish. Suddenly, he senses something different. There's someone with an aura so vast it could swallow the others. Even when Adam notices his strange expression and asks if something's wrong, but the man denies it. A man bursts out of the room, yelling for the boy to come in immediately, making the spirit vessel think he's about to be expelled from school. He knows everyone gets 3 chances to take the exam, with the last being the ordinary test that gives any civilian a chance to become a hunter. But the man surprises him by telling him to go to the field. He's being tested again. The students who overhear this even comment they're not sure that's allowed. Minato isn't in peak physical condition, but he intends to give his best in the 100-yard dash, where the average time is 3.6 seconds and the top score is 2.7. The big guy from earlier talks about the boy's reputation as a loser who failed the test, and that his second chance is probably out of pity. A shot is fired, and Manadu runs with everything he's got. He silences everyone by breaking the record with 1.2 seconds. The next test is a 1.8-mile run with an average time of 4 minutes, and the boy finishes in 1 minute and 17 seconds. He even surpasses expectations by doing 840 push-ups in 2 minutes. In the strength test, he bench presses 2,820 pounds. His records leave everyone shocked as he broke all previous ones, scoring twice as much. This makes them question if the boy is even human. He seems more like a beast. Meanwhile, Manadu wonders if everything he just did was thanks to the progenitors once again lending their powers. But Raikiro questions why they would help with something so absurd. After all, they were just watching. In the principal's office, they're tallying up the boys' scores. Midori examines everything and is surprised by the records. The principal asks why she requested a retest, admitting that his athletic abilities are truly remarkable. However, the problem lies in his mana measurement. In all 3 tests, his level was immeasurable. In other words, he has 0 energy. That's why the man doesn't expect much from him. Knowing this, the girl tells Midori the Transcendent is probably wrong about Minato, which he doesn't take too seriously. The strongest man tells her to wait and see. The instruction is to spin the fan as many times as possible in 30 seconds, and the number of rotations will be the final score. Minato remembers that no matter how hard he tried, he was never able to do anything in the past 3 years. After all, he didn't even know how to feel it. But now he understands that it's all about circulation. Mana rises through the body starting from the tip of the right foot, flows through the entire body, and returns to its origin with breathing used to control the flow. Then he fires it from the palm of his hand. The teen monitoring the test tells him to begin. A blue energy starts to circulate. From Minato's body, it flows toward the fan. It begins to spin, impressing everyone with how many rotations it's making. The spinning gets even stronger. The numbers start climbing without stopping. The fan is spinning so fast, it becomes impossible to measure the numbers. Everything ends with an explosion, and the device catches fire. The students are startled by the flames. It can even be seen from the principal's office. Something is heading toward them. The fan's blade ended up lodged in the ceiling. The old man nearly lost his hair. While his assistant is startled, Midori explains that the boy must be a special case like him. He says Minato is the second student in history since himself whose mana level was immeasurable. Not only is everyone around him shocked, even the boy himself is stunned by what just happened. In any case, the man congratulates him for successfully passing the hunter test, and he even broke all the new records. Minato looks at his hand, unable to believe any of it. Overcome with emotion, he can't believe all that power is inside him. But it's exactly as Raikura expected. The moment he lent his body to the progenitors, his latent powers were awakened. Minato is not just an ordinary person with the mark of the void. For years, they have been waiting for someone like him. This boy will be the key to fulfilling their dreams. Suddenly, something catches the vessel's attention. A strong light appears, almost blinding him. Frightened, he asks the hero if it's some kind of explosion. However, this explains the powerful wave the swordsman felt that morning. With a smile, Midori appears. Realizing who it is leaves the boy completely shocked, and he wonders what the strongest transcendent in the world is doing there. The blonde man says he saw his performance during the test and congratulates Minato for passing. He says it's time for the bonus exam call. Try to land a hit on the strongest transcendent in the world. Minato's jaw nearly drops to the floor in shock. Midori, 23 years old, became a hunter, just 9, and has been extremely active as a transcendent ever since. Able to wipe out 1,000 monsters with one strike and defeat weak hunters just with his aura, he nearly single-handedly resolved the pandemonium 10 years ago and the Kyushu crisis 5 years ago. A voice calls to him, leaving the boy even more terrified. With a wicked smile, Raikura asks him to lend his body. Midori explains the only rule. All the boy needs to do is hit him within 1 minute. There's no penalty if he fails, but he warns that every 10 seconds he'll attack. And the strongest transcendent says not to worry because I'll go easy, claiming he won't use any skills, but allowing Manada to use anything he wants. The blonde even brought a few weapons for him to choose from. The former loser is amazed and suspicious, wondering when the other prepared all this. He's confused about this bonus exam and questioning whether he's really about to fight a famous person for 1 whole minute. The boy asks if it's really okay to use a weapon, and Midori replies that his body is as strong as steel. Demonstrating his strength, the strongest transcendent says he can break any blade used against him. Meanwhile, the hero begs to help with this. Reichiro is thrilled, merely bouncing off the walls with excitement, realizing not everyone is weak. Staminata realizes that his opponent is so powerful that even a progenitor is eager to fight. To be honest, he knows there's no way to defeat Midori. Thinking about all this is too much for the boy. In that case, there's only one thing to do. Students are hanging by the window, excited to see the duel about to begin. Meanwhile, the swordsman shouts for the boy to give him control of the body. Either way, Midori shows the timer on his phone, marking the start of the battle. The weapon Minato chooses is a sword. He runs in, ready to strike. Reichiro is terrified that the kid is doing this alone, thinking it's completely unfair. The boy knows it's totally reckless, but he wants to become a legend someday, and for that, he has to experience the power of a true fight. Despite his effort, he doesn't even manage to touch the opponent. Dodging every attack, Midori asks what social media the boy uses since videos of the fight will be online soon. The others are amazed by the blonde's defense. He's doing it all without even looking up from his phone. Meanwhile, Minato tries with all his might to land a hit. To the strongest transcendent, the fight feels like child's play. The blade in the progenitor's vessel radiates mana. Although Midori is doing well, one of the students is actually impressed with Minato. Many would be exhausted after so many attacks. The boy shows no sign of slowing down. He keeps relentlessly seeking an opening, attacking with a diagonal strike, a horizontal split, even a shin attack, an audacious move aimed at the throat, but no success. However, Minato was amazed that his body is doing exactly what he wants and not tiring at all. He's not sure if it's because he lent his body to the progenitors, but he definitely feels something has changed. A touch to his forehead pulls him out of his thoughts. Finally, the 10 seconds have passed. A powerful blast of energy is released. Fortunately, Minato manages to dodge it. The boy is genuinely terrified by how powerful he is. Looking back, he sees the destruction left behind. Minato is stunned that this is what Midori considers holding back. If he had moved in time, he could have lost his head. But something feels off to Midori, who has never lost control of his power. He also doesn't sense any kind of threat from his opponent. Meanwhile, the vessel of the heroes finally realizes the danger. If he doesn't improve, he could end up being eliminated. He wants to remember how powerful he once was. Now the boy is even more determined. This change is noticed by Midori. Feeling more capable and confident, Minato is ready to attack again. Those watching the fight are amazed at how everything has become even faster. Not even the camera can keep up with them. This time, Midori also notices that his opponent is better than before with the sword. But he knows the boy was much faster when he defeated that grade 6 monster, which makes him wonder if Minato has a condition to activate his power or if he's been faking it. Looking at the phone screen, he checks how much time is left. He's surprised there are still 41 seconds remaining in the fight. The blonde intends to be as gentle as possible. Once again, he makes that hand gesture, touching Minato's square in the chest and launching his strike. With full force, the boy is thrown far back, crashing through a wall from the impact. The boy even spits out his own vital fluids. He can't believe this. He's actually fighting the strongest transcendent in the world, who hit him with just a direct attack. His former self would have been taken out by that hit, so this is all absolutely incredible. But he knows he's still not good enough to pass Midori's test yet, so he's going to keep trying his best for the rest of the exam. He walks past Midori, who doesn't even react. This makes him stop, puzzled by the blonde's behavior. Midori apologizes and says he's seen enough with 30 seconds still left. With a single blow, he hits Minato in the back of the neck. That's the end for him. Midori knows the boy is talented, but not enough to be like him. He didn't see any of the power the boy displayed against the S-rank monster. Calling Rin, the blonde says they can head back and that, unfortunately, his opponent was nothing to get excited about. Hearing that, Minato grips his sword. He didn't like the way Midori talked about him at all. Now standing, he's illuminated by that same energy. Taking advantage of the stubborn boy passing out, Raikuro finally gains control of his body. A swordsman calls out to the current strongest transcendent in the world. This shift is definitely noticed by Midori. In control, the long-haired man asks if he's ready for some real fun. It's Minato's turn to watch as someone else uses his body in action. This is finally what the strongest transcendent had been waiting for. Just a moment ago, this was the energy he felt and what made him lose control of his power. Midori wonders if his opponent transformed into someone else or if this is some kind of ability. Either way, it doesn't matter. The point is he's become an absolute beast. Raikuro yells at him not to get distracted while talking. The blonde quickly notices that the movements are now completely different in speed, power, and how the sword is handled. A blade now just millimeters from striking his eye. He dodges before the hit can land. Midori starts making more necessary movements than before. Minato isn't playing around anymore, and that worries him. There's a murderous look in the boy's eyes, and he charges at his opponent with everything he's got. The energy emanating on the battlefield shatters windows and drives the crowd away. The blonde realizes that the sword strikes are no longer cautious or uncertain like before. He now carries the confidence of a seasoned warrior who understands his enemy. It's as natural as water flowing in a stream, or better yet, the unstoppable force of a powerful wave clearing everything in its path. In any case, he's starting to understand how the boy managed to eliminate the S-rank monster. Midori notes that there are now 40 seconds left, and it's his turn to attack. Still in control, Raikuro asks if he thinks he can't dodge something so obvious. The strongest transcendent is now several meters in the air far away. Laughing, he finds all of this incredible. Meanwhile, the others are shocked that Minato has pushed his opponent into a defensive stance. Bored, Raikuro tells them to forget the rules and for his rival to come at him with everything, and says if the blonde holds back, he'll make him regret it. The progenitor charges with his sword at full force. Midori stays focused, ready for whatever comes next. An unidentified object is thrown and lands near the pile of weapons, causing every item to levitate. The swordsman looks up, realizing what's happening. In the middle of the storm of weapons stands Midori. With his weapon, the blonde is going all in, and that's exactly what the madman Raikuro wanted. The two collide in a blur that spectators can't quite understand, though they find it incredible. The battle takes place mid-air. This is undoubtedly the most grand and exciting fight the two have ever had. Raichiro's fully alert. Another progenitor is impressed that the boy is keeping up with him, and everyone else envies not being in the long-haired one's place. Minabo's body isn't strong enough to fully withstand the swordsman's power. Noticing this, the old man considers helping, but they ask him to stay put. Otherwise, he'll just get in the way. Meanwhile, the mage is the only one who seems truly concerned about the real Monadu watching the fight. Raikiro performs strikes like diagonal slashes and uppercuts. He moves with his wrist. The man teaches him to swing upward followed by an uppercut and shift the center of gravity forward. All of this results in the blade shattering into multiple pieces. The swordsman laments the loss of his sword. Meanwhile, Midori finds it impressive. It's getting him excited. He announces that there are only 10 seconds left and asks what the boy intends to do. Suddenly, Raikiro jumps out of the arena. The spectators are confused, unsure what he's planning. He borrows a sword from the bully who shoved Minato earlier. Before he can even return, the fight resumes. Midori charges directly at him. The attack causes serious damage to the school's structure. But with Reikaru still in control of the body, comes out unscathed. The two resume their airborne battle. While they're having fun fighting, the other students worry that the whole building might collapse at this rate. Midori's attention shifts to the fan blade that broke loose. He grabs the propellers stuck in the structure. His strength causes part of the object to crack. The swordsman watches carefully what he's doing. And while still in the air, the current top transcendent in the world grips the blade and takes aim. The best is yet to come. It's the Kanoki-style sword technique. Lightning splits the fan blade in multiple directions, turning the object into tiny cubes. Midori laughs, finding it the most amazing thing ever. But the sword Raichiro borrowed also shatters. Now it's the blonde's turn. He has 60 seconds, and it's his time to strike. He aims directly at Minato's body. His immense power is even felt by the spirits. Minato grabs onto the swordmaster. This allows him to gain momentum and reclaim control of his own body. The first thing he sees when he's back in control is Midori ready to attack. Their hands meet the moment of impact and the full force of the blow lands there. Both Midori and Raikiro are shocked by what they see. The boy's hand is completely injured, but even so, he's already preparing his next strike, still wanting to know if his rival can block it. And then he finally lands a hit on the strongest transcendent in the world. Dueling between supreme masters is a rare sight. Amidst attacks, counterattacks, and non-stop defenses, the two warriors search for the right answer. Almost like a breathtaking match between two chess grandmasters, and all anyone can do is step back and watch in awe. That's how it is with Raikiro. It was just for a brief moment, but the boy tried something not even that guy had thought of before. He unlocked an entirely new path, a direct attack even after a hit. All he hoped for was a single strike to land. However, not everything goes as planned. His hands stopped just inches from his opponent's face. Unfortunately, he wasn't strong enough to land the blow. But Midori has a plan in mind, and the strongest man in the world makes the ex-loser touch his face. With a smile, he tells Minato he passed. The building is in complete chaos. The spectators wonder who the winner really is. Midori calls out to his assistant. Rin asks where they're going, and the blonde explains that the boy passed, asking if she can heal his arm. The students are shocked to hear that Minato actually passed the test. Realizing that he really did land a hit on Midori, they all cheer. Meanwhile, the assistant tells him not to move as she's healing his arm. With a kind smile, Rin congratulates him for passing. More at ease, he thanks her for both that and the healing, until he realizes what she really said, suddenly sitting up in alarm to understand what's going on. Midori himself asks if he doesn't remember, saying he's offended by that. He says maybe he gave a few bonus points, but either way, the boy passed. The blonde praises the combos in the middle of the fight, but Minato knows it was all Raikiro. However, what really surprised Midori was when the boy managed to dodge his final attack. To him, that was particularly impressive, and he says the boy should be proud of himself. Impressed by the words, the host of the progenitors thanks him. There is something Minato wants to know, so he asks if he gets anything for passing the test. Even Rin waits for the blonde's answer. Midori seems caught off guard by his own plan. Minato waits for his response. They look toward the destroyed room, and soon night falls. Dinner is being prepared. In the kitchen, Minato's mother asks how many people will be eating with them. A bit nervous, he says he's not sure but assures her at least one person will. In any case, the lady considers it perfect day because he passed the exam and was observed by a very famous person. Very happy about these things, she prepares the food. The woman says she always knew he could do great things if he committed himself. Feeling a little nervous about hosting someone famous, she says their home will look like a doghouse, but the boy denies that Midori would think that way. Finally, after finishing cleaning, the boy throws himself on the bed to rest. With the card in his hand, he remembers the day when Rin knocked Midori down for not telling her anything beforehand. Trying to ease the situation, the blonde asks Minato to confirm he told her earlier that if he passed, the two would work together, but he denies it. Even in pain, the famous man says there are too many curious eyes around for that scene. He asks if it's okay to go to his house at night to better discuss the details. Subjects like the options he will offer and about the real enemy. And that last one is what Minato is worried about. After all, the progenitors destroyed the tower a long time ago. What the hunters have been doing is defeating monsters that escaped from a dimensional rift. He thought that was all and wonders if they do more than that. A voice calls Minato several times until it startles him. It's Raikura who called him. Everyone else is there too, which worries the body borrower, who asks if something is wrong. The swordsman says they have finished the discussion. Startled, Minato asks if they were deciding who will take care of his body. That's exactly what the discussion was about. Nervous, the boy waits for what he has to say. However, he stands up saying he believes Midori has already arrived. When he gets downstairs, everything is dark and silent. Something catches the boy's attention. He yells for his mother, who is lying on the floor. Once again, the boy calls out to her. Minato rushes to reach her, sensing there is someone in the house. He notices it out of the corner of his eye. The person is messing with the food, grabbing some and putting it in their mouth. The figure complains that it's garbage. Tastes so bad. He tells Minato he's going to teach his mother a lesson, so she can learn to serve better quality meat to guests. The boy asks what was done to his mother, but the intruder tells him to watch what he says, introducing himself as Goro Haitani, an S-rank hunter who is there to take him and says he works with Midori. Then he tells the boy to hurry and grab his things so they can go to headquarters. But at that moment, Minato only thinks of attacking him. He's struck violently by the man. With a wicked grin, Goro laughs. He asks if the boy really wants to fight. Minato looks at the mess in the kitchen, thinking immediately about how his mother is. He also remembers when he lost his father, and she promised she would take good care of her son. Also, he suggested she get new shoes and she said it was fine, telling him not to worry since she had bought a new pair. His mother wished him a good day in the morning and promised to prepare his favorite food, tonkatsu, for dinner. Once again, Minato asks what the man did to her. Meanwhile, the others watch to write, "Hero, this is perfect," though he thinks he's copying that idiot Midori. This fight is their chance to decide what they'll do with him, because Minato has no intention of ignoring this matter. With the same smile, Goro says the boy is very adorable. He raises his hand to strike. However, the boy remains in place, not intending to get out of the way, stopping his hand mid-air, and with one move, he takes the man down. The old man is watching the fight. Despite his age, he still knows a few tricks. Everything feels so quiet until Goro's thrown out of the house. Minato rushes out after him. The man is startled, wondering if that move was some kind of Hakio technique. Having seen the video of the fight with Midori, he thought the boy only had a powerful aura and sword skills. He has to admit, the kid is stronger than a rank hunter like Kaisei. Impatient, Minato demands an answer to his question. The boy wants to know what he did to his mother. The woman appears to be affected by some strange substance, but Goro simply says that judging by his tone, the boy must already know. He poisoned her for getting in the way and put her to sleep. He adds that if the brat is lucky, the woman might only have some mild side effects once she recovers. But Minato says he didn't understand any of that. Shocked, the lanky man asks what he means. The boy asks why you would hurt the family of someone who's supposed to be his comrade. That makes Goro laugh as if he just heard the funniest joke in the world. Calling him an idiot, the man tries to land a blow, but the boy manages to dodge just in time. The man denies being anyone's comrade. He says he's just a polite, obedient puppet who will do whatever they say, and that the only way to make a weakling listen is to take someone important as a hostage. Minato keeps dodging the attacks, but in the middle of the fight, his foot is stepped on. That gives Goro the chance to land another hit. Then he pulls back, putting a good distance between them. The boy wonders what's really happening, feeling his face heat up. A purplish mark starts spreading across his cheek. Looking at the lanky man, he notices sharp blades and a strange liquid oozing from his fingers. It's his turn to taste the poison. He can create millions of different types within his body. If he wanted, he could flood a 5-kilometer radius with deadly gas, but he's not allowed to do that in crowded urban areas. The poison will kill Monadu in exactly 1 minute, and the antidote will only be given if he agrees to join the guild. But all the boy can think about is the gas, and now he understands why people refer to beings like this as environmental disasters in human form. The more time passes, the more the liquid spreads. He then asks if the sovereign apothecary Warrantine is inside him. Apologizing to the woman for the trouble, the boy asks if she wouldn't mind giving him an antidote soon. Meanwhile, Goro asks who he's talking to and if it's the fear of dying that's making him hallucinate. Minato asks if he remembers the Hapkido technique he used a minute ago. He says that was courtesy of Hayomakoto, the hand of God. The older man realizes that just as he thought, the boy copied his technique after seeing it only once. Then there's the ban of hordes from Raikuro Hinoki, as well as the blue death spear from Kalkashima, Malgath, the wielder of many bows. He's read the stories of the progenitors so many times that he memorized everything. It's been his greatest life wish to be like them. And now he reveals they're inside him. This catches Goro off guard, trying to understand. Minato says, in other words, there's no reason to be afraid of him. That seems to irritate the lanky man. He says that if fear doesn't affect him, then he'll use pain. He says the next poison will make the boy beg for his suffering to end. His liquid spreads into the air, killing the living leaves of a nearby tree. Goro says that if he surrenders, he'll at least get the serum, though it won't restore his mind after it's broken by excruciating pain. Minato is cornered and defenseless, but he doesn't seem to fear any harm. An aura lights up his body, and he strikes his opponent with the legendary Fist of Taekwon, hitting the man square in the chest and making him spit up his own vital fluid. The hero watches the fight, impressed. Goro, on the other hand, is sent flying, but Minato isn't finished with him yet. This time, he uses the Shining Foot, a technique from the progenitor Eilerson, who watches the fight, amazed. The man is kicked so hard that his feet tear up the asphalt beneath him. Minato keeps advancing toward him. In one last attempt, Gore tries to poison him, but the boy simply breaks his blades, then lands the Carlyle Beak strike, followed by Rowan's Dragon Claw, leaving the strange pink progenitor impressed. Grabbing him, the boy uses the Uprooter, this time a technique from Lilac. That move sends the man spinning into the air like a top. Goro has no idea what just happened. After all, when he attacks someone with his poison, they usually become terrified and disoriented from fear as it damages the neural system, leaving them unable to move. He wonders how it was possible to break free from that. Now it's the Mage of Truth's turn. Minato's finger lights up with golden lightning, and he casts Molestius Silentius. As he conjures, the lightning becomes even larger, striking its target. The progenitors watch everything, impressed. Then Raikuro asks if they really saw that. That day when they eliminated Technomotor, they had only lent their powers once, and yet he copied it, including the physics and magical abilities, and he's not even sure if that's because of the Mark of the Void. But in that case, the swordsman finds it all very exciting. He says they must do everything they can to help the boy. After all, they are the progenitors. If they work together and teach him everything, Minato could become the greatest transcendent that has ever existed. The boys run between the buildings. They know that right now, 15 other guilds are on their way to recruit the boy who fought Minori Akara, so they don't want to be too late. Suddenly, the blonde appears, surprising them by mentioning how many are after Minano. Smiling, the strongest transcendent asks if it's really 15. In that case, he declares they are the last. The guy is caught off guard by Minori's blast. The shot sends the opponent crashing to the ground. On the phone, he speaks with Rin. She reports she's arrived at the scene and thankfully doesn't sense any transcendence in the area. But there's something that catches her attention. The assistant says someone has already beaten them there because Goro Heitani, an S-rank hunter and poison user, is lying near Minato's house. The man is on the ground, and judging by his face, he doesn't look good. Hearing this makes Midori laugh. He says it's amazing and that he knew the boy had something special inside, but still can't believe he defeated an S-rank. The blonde asks if he's injured or poisoned, but the boy claims he's fine. His mother is lying on the couch. Minato says she's fine too. Hearing all this, Raikuro says that if it weren't for quarantine, he and his mother would already be wandering the depths of the underworld. Surprised that it took her only 5 seconds to remove the poison, the woman confesses to having extracted a little of Goro's serum. Midori apologizes for the delay and says many guilds are after him after watching the video of the fight. Minato asks if Goro lied about them being partners, and the blonde says many use that tactic to manipulate others. The strongest transcendent asks his assistant if she's done, and she confirms. Rin has restored the walls and the fence. With that, he declares they should come in and talk. Midori says they need to have a conversation about Minato's future. A new day begins. His mother asks if he's packed everything, and he confirms. She's still worried about his future. The night before, Midori said he wanted to recruit Minato. With a smile, the blonde said the boy has great potential, and with his guidance, he'll become an excellent hunter. That excites the progenitor's vessel, who says he was discovered as a talent by Midori Akara, but that only brought his mother to tears. For the farewell, the woman prepared breakfast for him in a disposable container, so he wouldn't need to bring anything back. Minato's expression is somber. She asked if her son would be exposed to many dangers. Being completely honest, Midori confirms her suspicion. The woman says her son has always admired the legendary progenitors, and that this has been his main motivation to become a hunter. Feeling deeply honored to have raised him as a mother, she's also worried for his safety. Midori says this job involves countless dangers, some impossible to predict, but he assures her he will train Minato to be a powerful and skilled warrior like the progenitors he always looks up to. The mother's eyes filled emotion. Then she thanks him for what he's doing for her son. In the car, Ren asked if he's sure he can keep that promise. After all, no one can predict the future. Through the rearview mirror, he watches the interaction between mother and son. The woman gives Minato advice like not sleeping on a full stomach and remembering to separate colored clothes when washing. With that, Midori says he'll keep his word as best as he can. Either way, it's time to go. Looking back with a gentle smile, Minato asks his mother to take care of herself, and so the woman watches her son depart. Then she calls out to him. The mother asks him to come home for New Year's. With teary eyes, he looks back at her. At last, Minato sets off a new phase of his life, but then Midori asks if he's really ready to go, and the boy confirms. The vessel of the progenitor says that if he looks at his mother one more time, he might be afraid of changing his mind. Since it's a long trip, the blonde tells him to relax, either by eating something or getting some sleep. Minato looks at the bag his mother gave him. Inside is his packed lunch. He opens the container holding his food. His eyes shine with emotion. This is his favorite meal. On top of that, his mother wrote him a note wishing him good luck. Remembering everything they've been through together, he thanks her for everything. While eating, the boy cries, moved by how delicious the food is. Rin seems like a serious and indifferent person. Meanwhile, Midoriya relaxes in the passenger seat, and so each of them enjoys the trip. It's quite sunny in the mountains. Looking out the window, Minato asks what place this is. With a smile, Midori welcomes him. This is a special state agency to which very few transcendents belong. It's called the Counter Prophecy Unit, or CPU. And once again, he welcomes him to the headquarters. Minato gets curious about the name of the place. From a window, someone watches them. The man announces that the new arrival has finally come. It's the new person now joining them. The woman with the teacup asks if they have a new teammate. The boy says it's always exciting to have fresh blood. The redhead just wants to see for himself if this person will truly become a partner to them, because only time will tell if he's truly worthy of belonging to the Counter Prophecy Unit. This is Minato's new challenge. Curious, the boy asks more about the place. He apologizes for asking so many questions and says it's because doesn't really know what it means. He thought he'd be joining the same guild the blonde is part of. First, Rin apologizes for not explaining it earlier. Since it's a state secret, they couldn't tell his mother anything. Midori advises him to put his things in the dormitory, and the assistant even offers to carry them, but Minato declines. Suddenly, a boy appears, Megara, offering to show him the way. He goes straight in for an attack on the progenitor vessel and is surprised to have his strike blocked. Minato thinks his opponent is strong. The strange boy makes another leap away and lands on the ground with mastery. He introduces himself as Teru Hanada, member of the CPU. Watching the interaction, Midori asks the woman to serve some tea, all just to enjoy the fight. Minato says they're part of the same guild, so he asks why he's doing this. The answer is that this is the best way to teach him about the place and also a chance to test his skills. The dark-haired boy remains on defense, and Hikitaro continues his attacks. Minato blocks the kick but still feels the force of the impact. The blonde asks if he'd like to know how the Counter Prophecy Unit was formed. Meanwhile, the other is amazed that he can fight while talking. Hippotaro asks him for his name. Minato then introduces himself. Meanwhile, Midori calmly sips his tea. He remembers the boy passing the hunter exam, then the bonus test. After that, he was tested by an S-rank hunter, and now he's being tested at headquarters. Makes it seem like the boy was born to be tested, and Rin says she doesn't think there's a cure for that. The woman reminds Midori that it was he who brought the boy in. In the middle of the fight, Hikitaro asks what hunters do, and Minato replies that their job is to quickly eliminate monsters that escape from dimensional rifts. The correct answer makes the blonde smile. To add to that, he says they're a kind of exterminator. The next question is about other calamities. That kind of confuses the progenitor vessel. So the blonde kid explains that from time to time, there are calamities so terrible that dimensional rifts don't even compare. Like the pandemonium incident that occurred 10 years ago, or the Kyushu outbreak 5 years ago. Surprise, Minato says he thought those were caused by major dimensional rifts. He nearly loses an eye. Hikitaro hasn't forgotten that they're still in a tool. He says that's what's taught in training schools and also what civilians believe, but that's not the whole story. Before revealing the truth, he uses the chance to launch another attack. Things are a bit different than what's told. Meanwhile, everything shakes from the impact. The tree the other boy was using for cover is destroyed by the kick. These situations were actually invasions from another dimension, a kind of extreme crisis on the same level as the monster tower that appeared 300 years ago. This leaves Minato completely shocked, and the worst part is that these creatures still haven't given up on their invasion. Someone from that other dimension has been watching everyone, waiting for an opportunity to strike. For some reason, transcendents are weaker compared to the time of the tower, and only a small number are as powerful as the progenitors, and that's why they're here. Those with the ability to see and predict the future do their best to anticipate any possible calamities. A small group of elite fighters does everything they can to prevent them, and that's where they come in with the CPU. Quite proud, Midori watches their conversation. But Minatova still wants to make sure he understood it correctly, saying that the CPU is an organization that fights against prophecies. Hikitaro confirms, saying that none of the others there were able to block so many kicks in a row. With a big smile, he says it's a great pleasure to meet him and welcomes him. Midori enjoys watching the scene. Suddenly, the kicking boy calls everyone's attention, announcing that the dark-haired one passed his test. Something had been watching them all along. It's the other transcendents from the CPU. Ben Hikitaro asked them if Minato is one of them now. They disappear without a word, surprising even Midori. The kicking boy then says that maybe it'll have to test the progenitor's vessel themselves. With that, he decides to show him around while carrying his suitcase to the dormitory. It doesn't take long for night to fall. Minato was in his private room. He thinks about how whenever there's a prophecy of a global threat, the CPU's job is to fight and make sure it doesn't come true. He wonders if one day there will be a calamity as terrible as that tower that required all the progenitors to bring it down, and whether he'll be strong enough to fight it. Suddenly, he realizes he's starting to worry about this when Raikira appears saying the best thing is to train a lot. This catches the boy completely off guard. Not only is the swordsman there, but also other notable heroes. He says he didn't get the chance to tell him earlier because things kept happening, but he wants to inform him of what all the progenitors have decided. The decision is that they're going to make Minato the most powerful transcendent in history, surpassing Midori and everyone else. After all, he has the potential to become the greatest. So they want Minato Kanagi to study with the progenitors. This leaves the boy quite stunned. He asked the heroes if they really want him as their disciple. He's still trying to understand the reason. After all, he thought all they wanted was to take over his body. Raichiro says he wouldn't mind that, but in that case they'd all have to fight over it, and Minato asked them not to fight because of him. The swordsman reveals that this was indeed their original intention, but seeing him in action changed their minds. They found a better idea than using his body, and everyone seems satisfied with the new plan. They thought it would be more interesting to train him. Raichiro asks if he remembers the poison user he defeated. Even though he had only seen some of his techniques once, the boy managed to copy them perfectly. Though the techniques were nowhere near as precise as when the progenitors used them, at the very least, he won the fight. Raikuro asks if he has any idea how impressive that was. He's not sure if it's because of the mark of the void, but the swordsman believes the boy's greatest talent is absorbing other people's abilities, and that makes him better than the progenitors. The moment Minato heard Raikuro say that, he couldn't stop himself from crying. His memories went back to his exams. When they said he might be hopeless and how many laughed at him, asking what he was trying to do, no one ever believed in him. Many called him a loser, saying he would never amount to anything. Minato had never heard of anyone who failed the hunter exam 3 times in a row, so many judged him, asking why he couldn't just give up. Or that day when reporters said knowing who he was didn't matter. Even Kizi, who tried to eliminate him, didn't even know his name. No one ever wondered if he had a future, but then Minato met them, and Midori told his mother that he has great potential. Raikiro also said he had the ability to become the greatest transcendent in the world. Because of everything that has happened to him, he wonders if he truly deserves this. Crying, Minato asks if he's allowed to be happy, at least once in his life. He's admired these people for so many years and never in his dreams imagined he would get to meet them. At the moment, the progenitors are there, saying they believe in him. Raichiro, though confused by the reaction, allows himself a small smile. Then he asks the boy why he's crying. After all, they live and breathe through him, especially while Nanadu is asleep, when they are even more free from time and space. The swordsman says he has big plans for him, and from this moment on, promises to train him 100 hours in real time every day. During the day, the boy will help the CPU fight against prophecy. But during the night, things will be different because the progenitors will train him while he sleeps. From that moment forward, Minato will have no more rest. Raikuro assumes he's already ready for that. The boy reflects on the words. Still shedding tears, he agrees. He's completely honored to learn from all of them. This small meeting takes place at night and soon morning arrives. Hiko was trying to pick up on the sounds around him. Soon, the noise of footsteps is heard. With a smile, he turns to greet the person. Minato wishes him good morning, and he quickly notices how tired the dark-haired boy looks. The vessel of the progenitor says it's because he's still adjusting, and the blonde laughs, saying his first day was the same. But Hiko senses something more. He notices a faint aura around the boy, then his eyes widen in realization. The blonde tries another one of his kicks, but Minato simply dodges it and spits. With a smile, the former loser asks for a moment since he hasn't fully woken up yet, saying he'll see him in the hall. Hiku is left very confused by it all, finding it strange because his kick was faster than the day before. Everyone gathers for breakfast in the CPU's dining hall. Together with Minato, the blonde kid is happy to see one of the good spots is free. But there's someone else already at the table. Being polite, he asks if the girl would mind them joining her. She keeps eating and Hiko sits down, telling the boy beside him to do the same. Soon Minato remembers that this woman is one of the people the kicking boy mentioned. Finally, she speaks and says he must be the new kid and gets the feeling she's not happy to see him. But with a smile, the former loser introduces himself. However, she says she doesn't care and doesn't want to know his name. Pointing her fork at him threateningly, she says she'll call him by name when he proves his worth. It's time for training, and soon they'll be handling a prophecy. And she declares that Minato will be involved too. In 1945, the first prophecy book was discovered in Antarctica. It was buried under almost 3 kilometers of ice. The book was retrieved by a man. The title was written in a crooked, almost childlike script and contained descriptions of various calamities that would destroy the entire world in the next 80 years. The question is, do they really believe in the prophecies? Minato apologizes for changing the subject, but he doesn't know her name yet. Still, the girl says it doesn't matter and that he should just answer the question. He responds that it's because the prophecies have come true, but she tells him not to play dumb. The girl with lilac eyes says that if even one had come true, the entire world would have been wiped out, and knowing that scares him. Desperate, Minato asks the blonde how many prophecies exist. Smiling, Hiko says about 200, which scares him even more, and he asks if that means the world could end at any moment. To reassure him, Midori reveals that the CPU has managed to stop about 180 of them. The vessel of the progenitors returns to the topic of people believing in prophecy, but the lilac-eyed girl brings up the explorer who discovered the Book of Doom. His name was Barnard Russell. She asked if the boy knows what he saw when he opened the book and looked at the first page. It made the explorer's eyes go wide. There was a greeting with his name, as well as detailed information about how he would find the book. In the city of Sumida, Tokyo, there's a medium-sized dimensional rift. The lilac-eyed girl approaches as police officers ask her to step back from the restricted area, but none of them obey the authorities' orders. Then the girl talks about the Third World War, the dark side of the moon, the biological attack, the giant flying tree, all events with disaster potential that were resolved by high-ranking transcendents. Midori, in fact, recently took care of the pandemonium incident. In any case, the Book of Doom isn't the only prophecy book in existence, leading to the conclusion that there are all kinds. To gather, analyze, and resolve them, the counter-prophecy unit was created and exists to this very day. There's a job system with 4 risk levels, starting from level 1, which covers local neighborhood threats up to emergency level involving global annihilation. Minato asks if they're going to the rift to stop another prophecy, and the girl confirms, saying it's normal for CPU members. Sensing their approach, the man in the suit alerts Kurosoji, and Yu believes these unknown people are just civilians. The man tells them to stay back due to the gravity of the situation. The girl quickly explains they're dealing with a level 3 prophecy of medium size. She says it's written in the Golden Poetry Anthology, a 3rd-class prophecy book. Then the girl says as the rift opens. This leaves everyone startled, not understanding what's happening. Immediately, a rank monsters emerge from it. Kurosaji gets into combat stance. The man fires the first barrage. However, the humanoid wolves are already causing major destruction. He realizes this might be too difficult for B and C rank members to handle, and besides that, he has a bad feeling about the energy. To make things worse, the boss monster is about to come out. The man then looks at the strangers. In his eyes, they seem very calm. Kurosaji says there's no reason for civilians to be there. Ignoring him, the girl summons Trismegistus. A liquid metal forms around her hand and then transforms into several blades. The wolves begin attacking people, but they are quickly impaled by her spears. Not a single monster is left standing after her attack. It's time for the yellow lightning. Heiko immediately kicks everyone in his path. Impressed, Kurosaji wonders who these people are. They seem more powerful than him, and he's an S-rank hunter. Then the purple-eyed girl says that, at the moment, he is the civilian, not them. The man notices the marks suspecting they're from a government organization. Suddenly, huge claws and even more terrifying eyes than those of the smaller evil wolves emerge from the rift. Even they realize this is a big problem. This creature is at least an S-rank monster. It's the wild beast Gilliaranel. As they charge forward, Kurosaji, terrified, tells them to be careful. Each one attacks the monster from a different side. However, Heiko realizes his kicks aren't working on the creature. He believes it's wearing armor resistant to physical attacks. Gilliaranel targets the girl. She uses her liquid to shield herself. Suddenly, Minato appears in front of her. The boy is surrounded by that powerful aura, and he uses only his hand to stop the giant wolf. The creature tries to push through with brute force, but every attempt to advance just causes damage to its armor. Powerful explosion occurs. The scene of the fight leaves everyone amazed. It was a close-range strike, and Heiko says that's pretty much how it's done. The blonde boy wonders how Minato managed to defeat an S-rank monster with just one blow, even though he sensed something different that morning. Then he realizes the boy has become almost unbelievably stronger than the day before. But the purple-eyed girl breaks the mood and tells Minato he could have said what he was going to do first. The boy knows that when facing a physically resistant opponent, one must gather energy and destroy them from the inside. He learned this technique the night before with Taekwon, the legendary fist. Fist strike is the most basic type of punch technique. Minato still can't believe it came in handy so soon. Stopping his thoughts, he turns to the girl. Then he asks if she wouldn't mind sharing her name now, saying it's easier to ask for help when they're inside. And she introduces herself to the new guy as Akan Shinomiya. Without wasting time, Heiko continues his kicks. The other wolves suffer from the liquid expelled by the purple-eyed girl. She then uses Mercurius Reject. Seeing the devastation, the blonde boy says Minato was right. Akane agrees too, realizing that attacking the creatures from the inside is more effective. Then she calls the new guy. It's time to end it. Kurosaji thinks this is madness. After all, inside the rift is another dimension, and he thinks it's the kind of decision only a fool would make. But Minato immediately agrees with the idea, and they enter that broken fragment of another world. The man stays frozen, looking like a fool. He's never seen anyone like those three, assuming they really are part of the secret organization he heard rumors about. More giant wolves appeared to attack. Akane notices they're the same as the ones that came out of the rift. She's tired of dealing with these things. She fires her mercury in all directions, transforming it into spears. Watching that, Minato is impressed by the girl's abilities, and the blonde boy explains that she's stronger when it comes to wide area damage attacks. An even bigger armored wolf appears. She calls for Hiko, who quickly comes to lend a hand. Before the monster can land an attack, he leaps. The boy even teases it, saying he's up on the ceiling. Heiko is very agile with his rapid shots. This whole scene leaves Minato impressed. But now it's his turn to play too. Just like the kicking boy, he mimics his moves, and the blonde kid is happy his friend can copy his techniques. There's so much to do, and they run without wasting time. Unfortunately, Akane can't see what's ahead, which means they'll soon face something bigger. Something makes the progenitor vessel feel confused. He wants to know what this large empty room is. Suddenly, something is approaching, drawing their attention. Just the footsteps make the ground shake. Minato shouts that the thing is huge and terrifying, and Heiko believes it's the boss. The monster roars loudly. They'll have to face the blind Minotaur, and S-rank even larger. Looking calm, Akane says it finally appeared and asks if it's really the boss of this place. Without waiting for an answer, she already summons her Trismegistus. A circle forms around the giant Minotaur. Blades begin to emerge from the light. This is her powerful El Dorado. She has a rule she never breaks. Whenever she encounters a powerful enemy, she defeats it with her strongest attack right from the start. So trying to hold the boss off as long as possible, she asks them to finish it for her. It's Heiko's turn, and he says he wishes he had flashy skills like hers. But either way, the boy is here and tells her not to worry. Meanwhile, Minato watches the powerful duo. However, he knows the type of attack is wrong. Hearing that makes the blonde boy uneasy, but Akane asks if he's criticizing her powerful move. Suddenly, the Minotaur makes a new move, making them realize the new guy might actually be right. The creature's power blast is even more devastating. It destroys part of a large room with a single strike. There's not even a scratch on it despite all their attacks. That triggers a warning in them as they realize the real danger. Suddenly, one of the progenitors says the girl is extremely gifted. This leaves the boy confused about what Killick is talking about. Then he explains that she has everything: spell casting, precision, and even style, rarely seeing such incredible skills in someone so young. The alchemist says she deserves top marks for her strategy, and under normal circumstances, she could easily defeated the enemy. But he knows there's one problem. She ignored the boss's immunity to physical attacks. Minato then asks how they'll manage to defeat the Minotaur. Rather than explain, the progenitor prefers to show him. Unaware of the conversation, Heiko deduces the monster's immunity, which makes Akane regret not bringing a mage. What she didn't count on is that the progenitor vessel always has a trick up his sleeve. Killick asked to borrow Minato's body to give the young lady a demonstration. Mercurius is launched with even more power. The liquid sticks to the monster, keeping it in place. That gives the lilac-eyed girl chills from the display. She demands that Minato explain how the hell he used her ability, but then wants to know what the boy is trying to do. Calling her a fool is the alchemist in control, and he says physical attacks don't work. He explains it's the result of being overly specialized in just one thing. She still has much to learn. He also says a true alchemist must be able to distinguish between the three states of matter and use them properly. With Mercury under his command, he makes the monster heat up as if it were being boiled in a pot. Killick is attacking with heat instead of physical force, and he's making the liquid boil. Thinking it's still Minata of, the girl can't believe he can control temperature so easily. Meanwhile, the alchemist tells his student that he's extremely impressed by Akane and would like to make her his disciple. The monster collapses to the ground. Its mission was to carry out the Grade 3 prophecy described in the Golden Poetry Anthology. Minata deserves congratulations for defeating the blind Minotaur boss. The mission is finally complete. Despite the celebration, Akane can't believe what just happened. After all, transcendents are only supposed to specialize in the techniques of whatever mark they have. She thought Minato was like Heiko. While she's lost in thought, the boy extends his hand. With a smile, he says his name again and asks the Count Shinomiya to remember it. Feels like an insult, which irritates her. The only option left is for her to accept it. Seeing the scene makes Heiko happy that his partner has accepted the new guy as a member of the CPU. Kurosagi and his team remain outside until one of them notices the rift is closing. They want to understand what's happening. Suddenly, Minato emerges from the rift. Heko is the next to come out, and the ex-loser tries to help the girl out as well. Everyone around looks on in amazement that they survive. The rift keeps closing, and now all that's left is to report the end of the mission. Someone calls out to Minato. It's Kurosagi, who thanks him for saving him and his team. The man is curious to know who they are and what happened inside the rift, though he believes they don't have clearance to talk about it. Akane steps forward and says that when he writes the mission report, all he has to do is draw the symbols. That way, no one will ask questions. He agrees and says he'll get in touch if it happens again. But the purple-eyed girl tells him not to worry. Something extremely rare. She makes it clear they won't be seen again and that Karasagi and his men can go back to their normal lives. The man laughs, realizing that they're the civilians here. On May 11th, in a cave village within Prefecture, a red lightning bolt shoots by at high speed. Something very strange is happening there. Back at the CPU headquarters, Akane mentions they need to write the report, but Hiko informs them they've been summoned to the research lab. Arriving at conference room 3, it appears empty. They notice something feels off. There are 2 people in the room, and the redhead calls out to Akane. He wants to know why they took so long. After all, was just a level 3 mission. Minato quickly remembers he was one of the members observing him that day. Hiko tells the redhead to take it easy. After all, he's not the leader here. Getting straight to the point, he asked the director why they were called. Kurha asked them to look at a photo received from the interpretation team. Akane is the first to ask if the strange object is a lump of coal. Then he reveals it's actually a prophecy book. It was found near a volcano, which made it very difficult to decipher. Curious. Minato asks how someone managed to do it. The man says it's thanks to recent AI technology that successfully decoded part of the text. There's a lot of information, but one detail in particular concerns Japan. Shocked, Akane asks if it's a completely new prophecy. The rookie asks if that's not common, but Hiko reveals it's the first time he's heard of something like this. CPU is also respected among researchers, and that's why they're able to gather prophecies from all over the world, but there has never been a new prophecy like this before. In this case, Shinji tells the director he assumes he's going to ask the 4 of them to investigate. Agreeing, the man says the regular members will have to carry out the real strike, but they're all currently on other missions. Since these 4 are available, he'd like them to conduct the initial investigation of the prophecy, and says he'll send an email with the details. What surprises Manadu is that they're being sent on another mission right away. To them, it's normal, and the rookie realizes he really should have taken seriously how tough this job would be. Either way, the redhead accepts the mission. Taking the lead, he calls the other 3 his subordinates, irritating the purple-eyed girl. There's no rating yet for the prophecy, so they're told to be cautious. And if it shows signs of fulfillment, they must wait until reinforcements arrive. Minato gets thoughtful about this special mission, which involves something completely unknown, and it makes him nervous. Shija tells them to rest so they don't mess up the mission, but Akane fires back that he's not the boss, and she doesn't need sleep. But the rookie disagrees, saying he's going to close his eyes for a few minutes. Even Hiko agrees with the idea. Their sleep is Akane's defeat. Still resisting, she says she's not going to sleep, but it doesn't take long for the girl to lose the battle. Suddenly, someone yells her name, and Akane wakes up alarmed, insisting she didn't sleep. She gets mad at Minato for not waking her up, but the rookie tells her to look around. There's something much stranger going on. Confused, she asks what he means. Strange scarlet columns are all over the place. Hiko says this is very serious. He says it won't be long before the prophecy becomes reality. Akane says this is the largest magic circle she's ever seen, and that the columns must contain the remains of the 23 villagers mentioned in the report. Shinji finds it similar to the case of the vanished apartment in Wakayama Prefecture, where a hole to another dimension nearly opened. Suddenly, the columns begin to glow. Noticing this, Akane declares there's no time to waste. Heko asks what the plan is. Grabbing his weapon, Shinki declares that they're obviously going to stop the prophecy. Then Akane reminds him of what the director said. Behind him, a surge of energy startles them. As always, the powerful aura comes from Minato. With a smile, the boy asks if they're ready to begin. The lilac-eyed girl is impressed. Haika mimises that he's stronger than he was in the morning. Seeing this, Shinji says there's no reason to wait. Leaping forward, he tells them to follow him. Ikanian doesn't waste time complaining that he's not the leader. The columns are emitting an even stronger light. Then the mage says it's been a while since she smelled that scent. Raichiro agrees, though they had sensed it a few times while alive. From a tombstone, a red light emerges, and from beneath the earth a hand rises. The scent the progenitors detect is from a forbidden spell. In the prophecy, the glow of the crimson moon will begin to soften as the beast awakens and must be sent to the underworld. The transcendent and master sorcerer Shurjima Bando, having committed a terrible massacre during the high-end period, he was defeated by a divination priest, his own companion. He arrives in a specific village, claiming he doesn't have much time, but it will only be 1,000 years until he awakens again. And so he will be reborn as the Demon King, ruler of the world and devourer of all life. Before dying, Shurjima Bando casts a forbidden spell, sacrificing every living creature within the circle for his future resurrection. This mission is to stop the new prophecy recorded in the Book of Hell. With an unknown grade, the new boss is Shurjima Bando. A sorcerer says he didn't expect to be resurrected with so little power, so he needs more sacrifices, realizing the place is darker than it was 1,000 years ago. Still, he senses fresh prey nearby. He activates the Circle of Doom, causing a powerful blast wave. Worried, Minato calls out to his companions. Pico tells him not to worry about the other two. It's the new guy who warns them about the danger beneath. Neither of them had noticed before. But from a magic circle, hands are emerging, capturing them with the snare of the dead ability. Trapped, they wonder how the enemy is able to use so many abilities in a row without any delay. The sorcerer is powerful, and it's going to be hard to defeat him. Out of the corner of his eye, Shurjima notices something. Minato tries to strike him, but he dodges quickly. The boy attempts the same attack as Heiko, but fails, and the sorcerer says he sees talent in him, but claims it hasn't been properly developed and traps the boy in his circle. A strong flash of light begins. However, the boss realizes something is wrong. Minato easily escapes his trap using Hadad, one of the first moves he learned. Even so, the sorcerer tries to defend himself. The boy ends up suspended in the air. For Shurjima, it wasn't bad at all. But either way, Shinji is ready to take advantage of the moment. Silently, he grabs his dagger and catches the boss off guard with a marigold blast ability. The redhead was determined in his strike. However, Shurjima dodges and laughs, claiming it's a waste. He finds all of this amusing, but the boy had already guessed it would take more than that to bring him down. So he uses the Autumn Thistle's ability. Amused, the boss says it almost looks like it's raining, deducing that the ability breaks sword beams into multiple rays. Shinji manages to hold his defense against the strike, which impresses the sorcerer who admits he truly is strong. Meanwhile, Minato is watching and wonders just how strong this guy is. After all, he's completely different from anyone he's fought before. He feels stronger than the progenitors or even Midori, which makes the boy wonder what he should do. Someone calls his name, making him remember his companions, who are being freed. Akane tells him not to just stand there. Meanwhile, Shurjima Bando demands they stay out of his way. He creates several different magic circles. From them emerge creatures, ravenous bone spirits. But that's not enough to stop them. Still, it didn't succeed. Each of these beings is powerful, even stronger than the Minotaur. And to make things worse, there are 3 of them. Minato's hand is glowing. His expression is filled with confidence. Returning to the fight, Shurjima says the poor boy is now alone. But apparently, the redhead doesn't need help as he lands his first cut. So he makes it clear that's the last thing he needs. But suddenly, he's told to step back. He can handle this alone. The red-headed says the only thing in this world you can count him on is your own strength. Laughing, the boss agrees with that. After all, he doesn't need anyone else either. He's going to devour them all. So the sorcerer goes all out. Shinji pushes himself even harder to defend. Once again, he calls out his name. It's Minato, appearing to help him. The mark of the void shines even brighter. Shurjima wonders what the boy is doing there and what happened to his bone spirits. While the other 2 were still being fought, half of the third one doesn't even exist anymore. He actually defeated the thing. And on top of that, he manages to punch the boss. His strike is truly powerful. Even Shinji is surprised, and the boy tells him not to fight alone. The sorcerer tastes his own liquid. Minato remembers that they all need to work together to defeat the boss. The full moon lights up the battle. Shinji looks at him stunned. Not even Hiko and Akane manage to take down the monsters that quickly. Their battles are still ongoing, so the redhead wonders how the boy pulled that off. But regardless, he doesn't intend to fight alongside anyone. Shinji says he doesn't need help from anyone. He plans to take down the bastard on his own. Shurjima thinks that's perfect. The sorcerer will play with him one-on-one. Shinji manages to dodge just in time. The sorcerer launches his apocalyptic flash. As a result, Minato is thrown far away, and Shurjima laughs gleefully at that. At that moment, Shinji takes the opportunity to strike again. Part of the area is devastated by the boss's power, and Minato appears to have taken a lot of damage. He's still recovering from what happened. Suddenly, he's in another place and asks why. Rikiru explains that he blacked out for a moment, so they took the opportunity to summon him. Minato tries to say something but is stopped by the pain. Either way, it's not time for talk. He wants to return to the battle, but they want the boy to stop. That takes him by surprise. Outside, the fight continues. Shirjima confesses that he and the redhead think the same way, which worries Shirjin because he knows he's not strong enough to defeat him, and the sorcerer says he's right not to drag anyone else into it. That's why he'll devour them alone. The boss unleashes even more powerful attacks. This becomes harder for the swordsman. He tries to enhance his blade, then attempts another strike against the opponent. Shujima says he hasn't had this much fun in centuries. Shinji is giving it everything he's got. Meanwhile, Raikira explains that the redhead is above Hiko and a cannon, but still nothing like the sorcerer. That's why the boy has no chance at the moment. The mage explains that the enemy casts an extremely advanced version of a forbidden spell known as resurrection. If it had been in a densely populated city, he'd have enough souls to become the demon king. Devouring Minato's soul would make him even stronger, which is why she asked the boy to focus only on the damage the boss could cause. They never expected this mysterious new prophecy. It was by chance that Minato ended up being assigned to handle it. Riichiro asks him to lend them his body so they can fight in his place, but Minato refuses. The boy says this isn't training. It's a real battle. In the future, he believes there's no guarantee the challenges he faces will be tailored to his strengths. With a confident smile, the boy wants confirmation from his masters, but the mage still prefers he stay back since the situation is dangerous. Raichiro's laughter ends up breaking his companion's resolve because he knows the boy is right. After all, his goal is to surpass all the progenitors. So the swordsman shows his support and asks his apprentice to give it his all. Raichiro advises him to use everything he's learned and stop the sorcerer at all costs, and Minato promises he'll do just that. The boy turns to face the progenitors. Then he promises not to disappoint his masters. He runs off, excited to return to the fight. Raichiro is the most thrilled by his student's determination. In the ongoing battle, Shirjima mocks the fact that his opponent is out of tricks. Then he takes the chance to land a hit. Shinji leads a wave escape something worse. Still, the sorcerer declares it's time for the end. Whatever happens, the redhead has no intention of giving up. He wonders if this will really be his end. Suddenly, someone grabs his sword, catches him off guard. It's Minato asking to borrow his weapon for a minute. Shinji wants to understand what the new guy's deal is. He keeps surprising him at every turn. Minato gains momentum as he lands on the ground. Meanwhile, Shirjima Bando is preparing his next attack, firing the ray of apocalyptic flash. Minato uses the Hinky-style sword technique. He plans to play yet another ace up his sleeve using the Sea Storm slash ability. The two energy blasts are about to collide. The boy's power is so impressive that the ancient sorcerer wonders what it is. He wants to know who this is. The newcomer introduces himself. He is Minato Kanagi, the guy who will surpass all progenitors. The swordsman questions the mage, and she asks if he wants to know her opinion on the winner. For the woman, it's hard to say because all they can do is wait and watch. But for Raichiro, Minato is no fool. He wonders if the boy learned something new while doing sleep training in the car. With a big smile, he believes his apprentice has some kind of plan. Meanwhile, Minato keeps pushing forward in the fight. Shinji watches the rookie attacking the enemy directly. The strongest future transcendent in the world makes rapid sword movements. Not even the sorcerer can believe it, asking himself who this boy is. Shinji remembers the confident brat who thought they should work together. But the arrogant redhead made it clear he works alone. That seems to irritate him a little. For now, all he can do is watch the battle. Minato remains resilient fighting the boss. Suddenly, crimson orbs appear. It's the sorcerer's forbidden pomegranate's ability. The boy manages to dodge the blasts. However, the energy redirects itself to chase after him. Minato believes these things will follow him until they land a hit, so he stands right in front of the blast. The boy formulates a strategy. Tak Wong observes this quite proud. After all, his student trained hard with him. Minato's foot hits the ground ready for stomp smash, raising a large stone shield. Thus, he protects himself from the crimson blasts. But the sorcerer thinks he's a fool for trying to surround himself with stones. Minato stays alert to everything around him. He creates more barriers to protect himself. With the impact, a huge wall of smoke rises. Yet Shirjima is impressed by what he's seeing because the former loser is still standing. He learned something from Eilerson, so he uses the foot technique to his advantage along with light reflection. He easily manages to get behind the boss. Minato wastes no time attempting to strike with his blade, landing a cut on the sorcerer. Shujima Bando can't believe how strong the brat is. As a strategy, he tries to use Circle of Doom. Then he turns his back while chaos unfolds. But Minato manages to get out of it. He can't afford to lose sight of the basics, which is to use everything he's learned. He goes in for direct attack, but then ends up dodging the sorcerer. Though it was more than that, it landed a hit in the process. Even though Shirjima finds his individual techniques impressive, he believes the boy is not strong enough to be a real threat. That said, he genuinely wants to know how many abilities the brat has. Meanwhile, the progenitors observe, trying to understand the boy's tactics, which were meant for monsters, not a conscious sorcerer. They didn't expect him to improve so fast. She remains focused on her pupil's fight against the former ally. Shirjima Bando even admits the boy is entertaining. But now it's time for the forbidden spell that puts the progenitors on high alert. Akayane, still fighting the bone monster, senses something strange. Something massive appears in the middle of the battlefield. It leaves her deeply frightened. A giant three-headed skull is lit by flesh decay. The sorcerer thanks Minato for the fun he had, but says he's not good enough, so their fight ends here. His masters, desperate, beg him to flee immediately. But he just stands there, only able to hear what's been said to him so many times, that he's not strong enough. Minato knows he's right because even giving his best, he's not strong enough to defeat him right now. So he tries to think of something, pushing further to find a way to surpass his own limits. The mage suggests teaching him magic, starting with the basic spell he needs right now. It's called Jera, a small flame in his hand. The boy's hand lights up. Hanoki's style is both about appearance and strikes, while Seastorm Slash is a type that allows slicing through enemies. As he brings the blade down on his opponent, he must show not the slightest hesitation or fear, focusing only on their life force. With his other hand, Minato holds the sword. Looking like a completely different being, the guy who was once a loser is now lit by flames. Not you, the mage, can believe it. Raikuro is another who is impressed by what he sees. Shirjima Bando must now prepare for everything he has to offer. This is the new technique invented by Minato Kanagi that would someday earn its own name, a shimmering slash. The sorcerer is quickly struck, even with his large bone shield, and the world's strongest transcended future is no longer weaker than him. Minato paid attention to what his master told him about different kinds of strength. Raichiro explained that it appears differently to everyone, like a very thin thread, and all it tries to do is cut through the tightly pulled part. So if wants Minato to tell him something about what he's seeing, the boy is fully focused. He tries to find Shirjima Bando's life force. Minato sees a lamp with a frightening and hazy flame surrounded by darkness through the storm slash. Now he will no longer be consumed. His flame is much stronger, and this was done with his shimmering slash, destroying the giant made of bones and cutting the sorcerer in half, even leaving his masters impressed because Minato did something very impressive. He combined sword technique with magic. The alchemist startles his companions with his excitement at finding all of this fascinating. He understood what Minato's greatest strength is. It lies in switching between all kinds of techniques when needed. That's what he thought at first. But if he's able to combine them, many possibilities open up. Raikuro finds his companion a bit strange. But the mage remembers he's an alchemist, so if he's right, it means they had the wrong impression about the student's abilities. That's why she asks if it's a good idea to teach Minato. But the swordsman is sure it is. They need to see how far he'll go. Meanwhile, the boy looks exhausted. The sorcerer was split in half. However, his fluid begins to bubble and the missing part grows back. It was only for a short moment. Shirjima Bando admits that if he had lost his head, he would certainly be dead, especially from being caught off guard. But he won't let that happen again. He just didn't expect it to happen sooner, thanks to Shinji's wild camellias. Shinjiu had forgotten about him while enjoying his battle with Minano, but the redhead is back. He rescues his tired companion from the intense fight. All the sorcerer can do is watch. While Shinji protects the now unconscious Minato, his expression changes at the sight, then he is taken to a memory from the past. Haru's cough in his arms worries him. He asked if it's cold. He asks Haru to wait until morning, saying it won't be long. Shujima says that as soon as the sun rises, he'll search for food, but Haru shows no reaction. With a frightened expression, the young man calls his name. The cart carries his passengers. Meanwhile, Shujima tries to shield himself from the cold with what he has. The travelers are accompanied with much joy, while the young man wonders why they must suffer alone like this. Thinking about how living alone might feel freeing, but also lonely, Shujima disappears into the air like snow. Then the redhead realizes it. He finally understands that he's not alone at all, even if being alone doesn't bother him. Suddenly, he senses something strange, and it's not good. Heiko and Akanen run toward their partner as the girl calls his name. She asks if Minato is okay and breathing, and Shinji says he doesn't seem badly hurt. The lilac-eyed girl is thankful for that. Heiko is happy everyone is okay for now, but it's still too early to celebrate. He asked them to look at the barrier collapsing on them, large enough to swallow the whole village. If all the energy holding up explodes from within, they'll be crushed and die. Shinji suggests using their abilities to cancel the effect, but with the power they have left, he's not sure they can. Even so, the friends try. All they need to do is give it their best. Minato is back, and with his sword, Shinji realizes the rookie has woken up, looking very different with a calm aura. But it's not the boy in control. He's resting after doing very well in the fight, fulfilling the promise not to disappoint his masters, and the mentors are proud of him. The shield is cracking more and more. Together, the Transcendent Ones use their abilities, with Raikuro wielding the Hinoki Cloud Beam Sword technique. Someone is running from afar. One asks the boss what's going on. They realize it's the barrier. They think it might be too late, but maybe there's hope. Amid the chaos, they see a light. It's coming from Minato, and it's starting to grow even bigger, an incredibly impressive sword explosion. Clear to Captain Makoto, the sway unit of counter-prophecy. All Makoto wants to know is who is this? Who is this powerful person capable of doing this? Midori is on a plane flying over Peru and finds it wonderful that the young members of the CPU defeated a new prophecy completely on their own. Meanwhile, in Japan, Makoto says the organization classified it as only a level 2 threat, but in his opinion it's closer to level 1. Smiling, the blonde says he's impressed with them. Midori says they've improved a lot since the last time she saw them. The captain talks about the person who contributed the most to the mission's success. Definitely Minato, the rookie who joined the CPU just a few days ago, and he says he heard the blonde was the one who recruited him. The current strongest transcendent smiles at the captain's question, curious to know more about the boy. He is the person they were waiting for and the prophecy, and Midori truly believes it's Minato. But Akoto thinks it's a joke to have so much faith in the rookie, so the blonde suggests he take a look since he's so curious. The captain just wants him to return to base because it's boring without him there. There's no one to fight. Meanwhile, as always, Rin takes care of the bureaucracy. Ahead lies the emergency-level prophecy. When the sun darkens, they must face the plague-spreading boss, Nine Jab. The plane is heading in her direction, causing the creature to finally open her eyes. The aircraft passes through the barrier. Midori asks her partner to wait because she just needs to take care of a small annoyance using her turbulence. At first, it's very hard to see until Minato fully awakens. A nurse is happy that he woke up. The boy asks where he is, and she explains it's the CPU infirmary. She also says he's been unconscious since returning from the mission. All Minato can think is that he must have been completely out of it, not even able to reach the progenitors. The woman says she's glad to see him well, and makes it clear he should call if he needs anything. Seeing Shinji, he wonders if he's been there the whole time. Looking around, he searches for Heiko and Akanen. The redhead explains they've been training since the moment they returned. He says both of them seem quite frustrated about not being able to help much that day and admits that none of them expected the final reveal, that the rookie was more advanced. Minato asked him to listen, but Shinji only wants to know who he really is. Because in just 2 days, he took down a level 3 boss and another with potential to be level 1. And it's strange. All those abilities and how they were combined. He had never seen or heard of anything like it before. Once again, the redhead questions who he really is. Surprisingly, Shinji demands to know how he can be like the rookie. But suddenly, the moment is interrupted by the captain asking to come in for a moment. Catches both of them off guard. He asks the boy if he is Minabu Kanagi. Stammering a bit, the progenitor vessel confirms. Then Shinja calls the man brother, but the captain walks right past him, only glancing at him from the corner of his eye. Shinja looks a bit disappointed. Minato didn't miss what his partner called the man, but suddenly Makoto draws his sword and executes an attack. The younger brother is left confused, but the captain knows exactly what he's doing. In any case, Minato was quick to defend himself. He asks if this is some kind of test. Makubino thinks most trainees wouldn't have been able to dodge an attack like that. The man says the rookie is right and has passed his test. That surprises the boy quite a bit. The captain introduces himself to him, and the only thing the rookie can think of is the shared surname. So that's why Shinji called him brother. Because of the defeat of the last boss, Makoto invites Minato to become a temporary member of his unit. That catches Shinji's attention. He finds it odd that his older brother, a captain of Suo, came in person to ask this when he never let Shinji go on missions. Minato feels torn between listening to Makoto's explanation and worrying about Shinji. Anger spreads through the younger brother, and it's all Kanji's fault. Meanwhile, in the training room, Heiko and Akane are undergoing intense training. The two are pushing past their limits, wondering what the purpose is.
Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.